Okay, welcome to the second video for 3.5. In this video, we are going to talk about the second way of solving systems of nonlinear equations. So in the first video, you saw solving through graphing. In this video, we're going to use substitution. Now, if just as a refresher, substitution is when you isolate one of your variables in one of your equations and then substitute the amount that it's equal to in for that variable in the other equation. Okay, so substitution describes what you're doing to solve in order to solve the system. So let's go through this example here and I'll show you what you mean. So here we've got two equations. One is quadratic and the other is linear. And again, you can tell by the exponents. X squared tells us it's quadratic. X to the first power means it's linear. So we want to go ahead and isolate one of our variables. So what that means is we want to solve for one variable. Now, it's generally easier to solve for the variable that, if you have a choice, if one of the variables does not have an exponent, that tends to be easier to solve for that. So here we notice that y is to the first power in both. So let's go ahead and we're gonna isolate y in our second equation. So let's go ahead. We're gonna solve for y in equation 2, which means we want to get y by itself. So what we need to do here is just subtract x from both sides, which is going to look like y equals negative x plus 4. We just subtracted x and it moves over to the right hand side. So now we know that y and negative x plus 4 are equal to each other. That means they have the same value. They're exactly identical. That's what this equal sign tells us. So what that means is if we look at equation 1, anywhere we have our y variable, we can take out that variable and replace it with negative x plus 4. What that's going to do is it's going to give us a single equation that only has x's in it, which we can solve one equation with one variable. So we're going to go ahead and take negative x plus 4 and replace y with negative x plus 4 in equation 1. So first thing we want to do, here's our equation 1. We want to make sure, because we need to keep track of all of our signs, our negatives and our positives, our minus and plus, you always want to make sure that when you substitute for a variable, you use parentheses like this, okay? Because remember, it's x squared plus x minus y, so x squared plus x minus, and we take out the y and we put parentheses negative x plus 4. So we've substituted this value in for y into equation number 1. So again, the parentheses help you, especially in a situation like this where we're going to have minus and negative, or we have to distribute the minus to multiple terms. The parentheses help you keep track of everything. So now that we have a single equation with just x variables in it, we can go ahead and solve this. What we want to do now is since this is a quadratic, we know that we have multiple methods to solve quadratics now. That's what you've been learning this chapter. So let's go ahead and simplify this and see what method is going to be the best for us. So first thing we want to do is distribute this negative and combine like terms. So we get x squared plus 1x. This minus negative x is going to be plus x, so we get plus 2x. And then the minus positive 4, that's going to turn into a minus 4. Okay, so when we distribute this negative and combine like terms, we get x squared plus 2x minus 4. Now, we're still not ready. Remember, before we use any of our methods, we have to get all of our terms on the same side. So let's go ahead and add 1 to both sides. So now we have it in standard form, x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now, remember, we have lots of different methods. We can factor, we can complete the square, we can use the quadratic formula. Any of these will work. So let's try to look first and see if this is something that's factorable. So if we look at our C term, we have minus 3. Well, the factors of 3 are 1 and 3, which are a difference of 2. So in this case, it looks like it's pretty easily factorable. And this is just going to factor out to x plus 3, x minus 1. Okay, again, you have to, you always want to check and see if you can factor it first before you go through the process of completing the square and save yourself some time. So this is going to be x plus 3, x minus 1. Now, to get our solutions for x, remember we have to set each of these binomials equal to 0, which means we'll have 1 and negative 3 as our two solutions. So x equals 1 and x equals negative 3. Now, since this is a system that has two variables, our solutions are going to look like ordered pairs. So you don't stop at this point. Right now we've only gotten our x values. Okay? We only know the x portion of our ordered pair. So in order to figure out what the y value is equal to, we have to take each of these values and plug them back into one of our equations to solve for y. So in this case, we'll go ahead and plug it into equation number 2 since it's a little bit easier. So this is just the modified form of equation 2. So we know y is negative x plus 4. So if we plug in negative 3, we get y equals 3 plus 4. So that's going to give us y equals 7. And if we substitute 1 in, we get y equals negative 1 plus 4. And we get y equals 3. So here we've got our two solutions. It's kind of cut off on the bottom, but our two solutions are negative 3 and 7. That's one ordered pair. And then 1, 3. That's our other ordered pair. Now, just so you can see what the graph would look like, in the previous video you saw an example that just had one solution. This is an example that has two solutions. We have our line, and we have it intersecting our parabola at two different points. So we've got both points of intersections. We've got 1 and 3, and then negative 3 and 7 are the two intercepts, and those are the 2 points of intersection. Those are our two equation solutions right there. Okay, what I want you to do is to solve this system by substitution. So go ahead and go through the same process that I just went through. Again, go back and follow your steps, follow the notes, or rewatch part of the video, and go through step by step using substitution to find your solution or solutions to this problem. And go ahead and type them in the text box now.